Hey Zach, we were just talking, and I just think it's so funny, like people coming from other states and expectations. And I just wanted to talk today a little bit about like what are the things that Californians just don't expect to experience that when they come to Utah, um, there's all these crazy things that they're maybe not accustomed to. That they're actually experiencing. And you and I have helped clients moving from California. There are quite a few that we have helped. So thought it would be fun to talk about some of the different things that they experience. The first one, obviously, is sticker shock, but not in a negative way.
Not in a
So
negative way, right?
yeah, and you're kind of the finance guy. So tell me a little bit about like pricing and like comparison between California and Utah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun because whenever we work with someone who's lived in California, they come here and they're like, "Wow, for this amount of money, we can get a yard, we can get, we can be next to the mountains. Like, there's all these things that they just don't typically get in a home out in California that they can get the square footage, just everything. They're always enamored by like how cheap the real estate is in Utah compared to what they're coming from. And
And
so that's kind of fun for them where they can be like, wow, like I'm getting my dream home.
yeah, and I love that you have a lot of options to help people who like part of the family's getting here and getting established, and then the other
Mhm.
part's coming later. And so sometimes they have a house to sell in California, or sometimes they need to get, what is it? They need to have like 30 days pay stubs. Is that what they need to have to be established in Utah so they can qualify for a loan?
Yeah, one option is to use 30 days of pay stubs. Another option is to do future income. And so if they actually have an offer letter from the place that they're going to be working, and there's no contingencies upon that letter, like they don't need to pass a background check or a drug test, stuff like that, then oftentimes we can use that as future income. And even though they haven't received a paycheck from that employer, we can still use that income and they can close typically within like 30 to 60 days of their first day of actually working. And
Yeah.
so that's another
Yeah.
way to do
And
it.
I love that. And it is really fun for them to just be so excited when they're looking at they're like, I get a whole house and a whole yard. Like I really, I really get all this space just for myself for this price, which has been really, really fun. Another thing they love is the commute. So Utah might not be perfect when it comes to traffic, and I feel like there's constantly construction. Like you just can't ever avoid it. But I do feel like Utah has a pretty good handle on finding different routes and doing interesting traffic patterns, which can be shocking to someone from out of state. When you're all of a sudden you're going completely against the flow and you're driving on the wrong side of the road against oncoming traffic, but they've figured out, that's how it works best. But talk about time saver and life changing opportunity to recapture time for you. Um, especially like if they were in LA or San Francisco, where like so much of your time is stuck in bumper to bumper traffic. So I know that's something that's a big one. What about the weather? What do people love about the weather?
They love that we have four seasons, right?
Yeah.
So oftentimes when they're coming back, they're like, oh man, this is fantastic. Like we get winter, we get spring, and just like all of it's fun too with the mountains as far as just like you get the leaves changing, you get to go do family pictures when that happens, all of those just little things that make for a great experience here.
Well, and if you love the outdoors, let's talk about hobbies. I mean, there's so many trails, and anymore they're integrating into the actual neighborhoods. Like my neighborhood has trails. You can walk, you can run, you can bike, you can, skip, whatever you want to do. These trails are, and they're connecting them all the way through, from Salt Lake all the way down into Farmington, from Salt Lake all the way back into what is Jordan. Like they're just making them so unified so that you can really get connected. And then if you want to go up to the mountains, there's a million different options up in the mountains. And we do have like the greatest snow on earth.
We
Hello.
do.
So anyone who loves snow, like the skiing, the snowboarding, and then ice skating or hockey. So there's a big buzz around hockey in Utah,
There
right?
is a big buzz, and that's because we got a team finally, right? And so we got the Mammoths now. They're our first NHL team. And so that's been fantastic. And it looks like we also might acquire an MLB team here in the next few years.
Oh, yeah.
I know that the Miller family's kind of working on that, and so it's really going to be good. They're kind of doing a little bit of revitalization of the Salt Lake area, and there's talks about updating the Delta Center and coming in and just kind of making that a really really cool more experience as far as for NHL, NBA, and all the concerts that they do downtown. And so I think there's a lot of cool stuff that's coming in the pipeline in the next 3 to 5 years with that.
Yeah, well, and we have lakes. I mean, if people want to snowboard, I mean, to paddleboard or, what am I trying to say? Water ski. I keep going back to the
Right.
snow, but water ski. I mean, there's so many options for that as well. I mean, we've got great little pockets of lake fishing, all of the water sports as well. So I don't know. And then, not to mention the fact that Utah has 5 national parks. You can take a quick day trip up to Park City and find something really fun to do there, or you can take a week-long trip and do some of the national parks. I mean, there are just so many fun things to do and beautiful scenery everywhere you go. So, Utah has a huge pull for people that way. And
Right. People love to go to all the different areas. I mean, I think about Lake Powell, and like if you're from Utah, like you've got to go to Lake Powell at least a couple times, right? And see all the
yeah,
different red rock and just experience that. Go stay on a houseboat for a week. Um, and there's just so much to do, especially, like you mentioned, Park City. We've got world-class ski resorts that are like so close to us, right? We almost take them for granted because they're that close. Like you're 30, 40 minutes away from multiple places, and they're all just fantastic. And when you have a really really good winter with the snow, I mean, you can't ask for better skiing than what Utah provides.
well, and we're getting ready to host the Olympics again. And what year are we gearing up for?
2034, I believe.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's lots of changes in that aspect as well, preparing everyone to
Mhm.
come and visit Utah and participate in the Olympics. I remember how fun it was last time. And everyone got a chance to volunteer and to be a part of all the changes and the buzz. It was a lot of fun. Um, so jobs, what do we have going on in the job department? I mean, Utah, like unemployment rates and stuff like that a lot better than I do, but what do you see with job security here in Utah?
We're one of the top almost always. Whenever the reports come out, when they look at Utah, we're really good at self-sufficiency and like sustainability. And so because we have a lot of entrepreneurs, like they end up creating these companies and like they end up employing, and they aren't like, we have certain ones that are kind of in that tech sector, right, that are at the point of the mountain that are just the behemoths of that group. But then you also just have a lot of like smaller, mom and pop operated businesses that also do a lot of the employment. And so um there's just a variety of it. And I mean, I think we have probably one of the healthiest economies you know in anywhere in the United States as far as that goes. So,
Yeah, and I notice a big draw to the mini Silicon Slopes, like anywhere Lehigh, American Fork, Harriman, Draper,
mhm.
Sandy, all that. And then we've got that boom and craziness going on in Draper because the original prison was in Sugar House, like right in the Salt Lake City area. But then, of course,
Right.
they needed that land, they needed that space. So they moved it way out, way back then to Draper, which if you're in Utah, you call it the point of the mountain because you'd go over this little mountainous pass and there was a prison out there, but that was like prime ground. So what have you seen that the plans are for that?
So they finally removed the prison and they've moved it, to a different location that's more rural. And the main reason is they're looking at this land saying, man, this land is just like prime land for people to come and work in. And so they're over the next probably 3 to 4 years, they're going to build out a lot of office space and even just like condos and different things like that that are just going to be a really good prime location to work. That way, if you're coming from Salt Lake County or Utah County, it's convenient for you to get there. So,
And I know that in all the reports for Utah and everything, they're very aware of like pollution and traffic. And as they're evaluating all this, I've seen some plans that are really cool where it's mixed use. Like here's a little coffee shop, but then up above there are condos that you can buy.
mhm.
There's a lot of that feel and walkability, making it so that you can walk to somewhere to grab a track station so that you don't have to use your car all the time. I've seen a lot of innovation in the plans that they're presenting in creating that new little city because it's going to be a huge city. There's a lot of opportunity there because that was a lot of land that was locked up in that. So it'll be really, really exciting to see how that changes the landscape of the point of the mountain or Draper because that's where that's where they're making all these changes and it'll be over the next several years, but it'll be a lot of fun. Like I watched that happen with Lehigh with American Fork. I mean, you've seen all those areas. Harriman started out with like, oh, I think it was when I started real estate 20 years ago. Someone wanted to go see Harriman. And I was like, Harriman, what is that? And it was like population like 6,000 20 years
Right.
ago. And now they're getting close to that 70,000. So, I mean, that's insane amount of growth. And it's such a little popular hotspot, West Jordan, South Jordan, all these little communities that have their own little vibes. So it's a lot of fun. I don't know. Something else.
Right. It just keeps going south, right?
Yeah,
South and then west and east. And so
it does.
it's fun to see
Any,
the expansion of it all.
yeah, anywhere where we're not trapped by the mountains and the Wasatch Front. We're very trapped. We have limited capacity to expand because you'll run into water or mountains. So, got to stay within the bounds, but it's fun to watch the growth. And then schools, I've heard such phenomenal feedback for schools. So, what have you heard about schools and,
Yeah,
feedback and
they're fantastic. I mean, right now I've got one of my kids in a dual immersion program where they're learning Spanish and English. So half the day they're in a Spanish class, the other half of the day they're in English. And there's also a lot of charter schools in the area, right? And there's just so much opportunity, whether you want to go public, charter, private, like you really have a lot of different options. And yeah, schools here are fantastic.
Yeah, what I love, so my daughter did a charter school and it's by lottery. So you have to get,
Mm,
I mean, you have to get chosen, I guess, but she went to a charter school from the time she in her kindergarten all the way until she graduated junior high because they had an elementary and they had a junior high, which isn't always the case depending on which charter school you're following. But what I loved is that it's a private curriculum. They get to decide what their emphasis is, and then you as a parent, if your child gets accepted, they have smaller classrooms, super super intimate. Everybody knows everybody, kind of a deal, and parents have to be involved. You're required to participate and to give your hours of service, which I love to be involved. So it's really fun for me to go get involved with the school and see. And my daughter's charter school, they focus like on the arts. So she was able to do ballroom, she was able to do dance company.
mm,
She tried out the viola, like they have the orchestra, you get a chance, they have band, and then they do theater. They do a lot of really fun theater. So there's all these opportunities outside of school and in school to experience, the different arts and get a feel for what you like. And then the other charter school around the corner, they have dual immersion. There's just a it's a public one and they actually have a French immersion, one of the best French immersions um, in the
dang.
state. And then my friend's daughter went to Chinese immersion. So there's just so many opportunities in the schooling systems. And I think what I've really found is the friendliness and the participation, the parent participation is really cool. So I've loved that. And we do rank really high nationally as far as our school systems and, education and stuff. So people are loving, my clients especially, they're loving that change. And I had one client coming to Farmington and they wanted to do elementary, junior high, high school Spanish immersion. And there is an area in Farmington where you can absolutely do that. Just stay in the same house and make it all the way through. So that's really cool. Um, what about like the type of people that you're going to meet and how you're going to feel? What are people going to experience
Yeah, so
quick?
people are extremely friendly here. I mean, as I think about it, even in our little neighborhood, like there's multiple barbecues a year, right? Different potlucks that you can do. And so, I mean, just as far as neighbors, it's pretty fun out here, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
just different events that you can be a part of, and it's a good community overall.
Well, and I think it's a
Um,
little overwhelming. Like some of the people who've moved here have been like everyone wants to talk to me. Like I feel like because it's strange, because people want to welcome you to the neighborhood. They want to invite you to a little block party. There's so many activities, which if you want to make some new friends and feel involved, like people are very open, you know, and they're going to talk to you in the line at the store. Like they're just going to start a conversation and you're thinking, well, what, me? You don't know me. Why are you talking to me? But that really kind of is the reputation that Utah has, is friendly people. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and then quality of life, like there's some interesting differences when it comes to even just like the way that we celebrate and how we eat and stuff. Like, you know, what are have you seen is really popular and
So like it's kind of interesting, right? Like if you go to Seattle, there's like a Starbucks on every corner, right? And here there's not as many Starbucks. But what we do have a lot of are soda shops. And so you'll be seeing like your Sodalicious, your Swigs, your Fizz, like all these different soda shops that are really have become a part of the community over the last like 4 or 5 years. And so that's a big thing. And then also there's a lot more fast casual options in terms of eating, and it's kind of nice because I mean, when I think of Utah, there really is this family friendly feel. And oftentimes, if you have little kids, you don't want to be going and sitting at a, dine-in option. You'd rather just get really good food and go back home and, keep going. And so there's just a lot of really good options and a lot of good food that comes from Utah. Like when I specifically think about it, like Cup Bop's a really fun one to go to. J Dogs, JCWs. Like there's all these just different places that are fantastic, and it's like world class food in my opinion.
well, and it's so funny because anyone who knows the secret lives of Mormon wives, like they call it their dirty sodas, like, you know, and they're
Mhm.
carrying their big, huge, you know, soda pop and they put in different flavorings. And so it's just a fun way since, you know, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, of which Utah was founded, they don't drink alcohol. So they have to have something fun, you know. So they've just popped up everywhere. They're so popular. Are these soda shops and then treats, like treats galore. Cookies, crumble cookie now has gotten really famous. It's in a lot of different states. Actually, I don't think it started in Utah, but it's definitely popular here in Utah. And it was started from a member of the church that was from Utah. So I guess we can claim it. But anyway, like there's just so many fun different treats too, you know, bundt cakes and cookie flavors and millions of different. You have crave and crumble and like chip and they're just an endless amount of bakeries and donuts, and it's all the rage because you got to get your sugar if you're you know. So anyway, yeah, I think we definitely like our food here in Utah. And but Utah has been criticized for the fact that their bars aren't as accessible or readily, you know, we don't have alcohol at Costco. Like people are shocked that they're not selling alcohol at the grocery store or at Costco. But that being said, you can still have a lot of fun and you can still enjoy like sugary treats and stuff like that. And those people who do have that lifestyle where they drink, they just have to get used to, okay, I'm going to have to go a certain hour and pick up my alcohol and be prepared. So um,
Yep.
but anyway, on that note, no, I just think it's really fun. I think it's really fun to be helping people who are moving from California, seeking a little bit more calmer lifestyle, more family oriented, where they can enjoy nature, but welcome. And we'd love to answer your questions and help you find the right city that suits your needs. So thanks, Zach, for talking smack and introducing people to Utah.
I love it. Thanks, Janet.
Yeah, talk to you soon.